Showtime. Welcome to NBA Showtime. Now, Bob Costas and Pat Riley.
All right, hi again, everybody. Chicago has won the first two games of the series on their floor. Today, they try to go to Detroit and pull a Palace coup. And if they can do it, they'd have a lock on the series. They'd be up 3-0. Is it simply a matter at this point, conceding all of Detroit's veteran guile, all their past glory, that at this point, the Bulls are the better team, the younger team, and maybe, considering their route through the playoffs, the fresher team?
Well, it looks as though that's the case, but it's also a time that the collar gets a little bit tight. And one thing coaches always try to stress is that we want to be consistent. We want to be consistent in every facet of our game throughout the course of the game. And I see right now the Bulls and the Lakers playing a solid game for 48 minutes, while Portland and Detroit, it looks as though throughout courses of some of the games that they're having periods that are costing them those games. And so that's been the difference right now.
All right, let's take a look back to last night, Game 3 of the Western Conference Final between the Lakers and the Trailblazers. Having split the first two in Portland, Game 3 was set for Los Angeles at the Forum. Woeful shooting night for the Blazers, 37%. He barely by only 3 at halftime. Lakers reestablished control in the third, though. Drexler's shot blocked by Divac. It winds up in Magic's hands. One of his 19 assists, 2 of Divac's 16 points. Lakers by 11 after 3. Then, with the game already well decided, they mix it up physically. Sam Perkins, the flagrant foul on Danny Ainge. Portland takes it on the chin, literally and figuratively. Adelman's team loses, 106-92.
Just making sure that he didn't get to the hoop. We haven't done that successfully throughout the series so far by, hitting people and making sure they stop the momentum. But that was just a foul, and if it sent a message, no big thing,
Important thing was we wanted to do the hitting. You can only take so many punches. I know when you were small, your father probably told you, after a couple punches, you better learn how to fight back for yourself because you can't run home to me all the time.
I don't think our intensity was good on defense tonight, and as a result, we suffered. And I just think it has to be a lot better on Sunday.
All right, Pat, you were saying earlier that while the Bulls and the Lakers have been able to do it 48 minutes almost every playoff game, that hasn't been true necessarily of the Pistons and Trailblazers. Now, we know that Detroit had a malaise earlier in the season, but Portland really makes you scratch your head. They haven't won a championship yet. They had a great regular season. So why would there even be 1 second of any game when they weren't completely in it?
Well, the state of mind is one of the most difficult things for a coach to figure out when it comes to players and why those things happen. But they played great in Game 2. They made a great effort. Even though the artistic part of the game wasn't there, they ended up winning with their hustle and effort. Now last night they came into the Forum and it looked as though they were flat. Now, when you talk about big games, Game 4 tomorrow against the Lakers at the Forum might be the biggest game in the history of that franchise.
Gotta have it.
If they don't win it, they're not going to come back against the Lakers. Well, let's go back to the Eastern Conference and talk about the finals over there. The Bulls took care of the Pistons in Games 1 and 2 in Chicago, but fortunately for Detroit, that series now shifts to the Palace for the next 2 games. Marv Albert and Mike Fratello, they're in Auburn Hills to call Game 3 today. Marv, Mike, what's going on there?
All right, Pat, over the first 2 games of this testy series, the Bulls and the Pistons have become verbal sparring partners. The taunting and physical play has reached the point that, according to Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, Mark Aguirre challenged Pippen to meet him in the parking lot after Game 2 this past Tuesday night. We talked about this peculiar development with Pippen and Aguirre.
All had happened with me and Scottie where we were running down the floor, and his idea of not being intimidated, that we bumped about the littlest bump of all day. And he looked at me and said, "What the blank, blank, blank is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Scotty, you know, we're both trying to get up the floor. I'm trying to keep you from getting a layup. And just don't." And then my fire flew, you know, and it was, I never challenged him to any parking lot.
His comments was, you know, we don't have to do this right here on the court, or we can go out to the parking lot after the game. And I said, cool. But, I mean, we never made it there. At least he did.
Whoa. Mike, what do you make out of all of this?
Aguirre and Pippen may be making light of the situation there, but I'll guarantee you this. At the start of the game this afternoon, there'll be all serious faces on the floor. We have two physical teams, particularly at the defensive end of the floor. There'll be a lot of contact. In fact, the most pressure this afternoon might be on the officiating crew. It's a veteran team, and they'll have to take control of this game early.
All right, and as a public service to our viewers, should something break out in the parking lot between Aguirre and Pippen after today's game, our crack staff, as always, on the scene. Our cameras are there, and they are poised. Back to Bob and Pat.
Now that is journalism,
Yes,
staying on top of the story. The truth of the matter is, threats aside, the team that's really been unable to get off physically is Detroit. They have not been able to get the ball inside effectively to Lambeer or to Edwards. It's been a jump shot perimeter game. They've been to the line 40 times to Chicago's 82. So not only is Chicago out-finessing them in a sense that matters on the scoreboard, in a physical way they've won the game.
Well, I think the exchange between Mark Aguirre and Scottie Pippen is exactly where the Chicago Bulls have come to. They have grown to that point. I had an opportunity to talk to Michael Jordan the other day in Chicago, and I asked him one thing about this particular series, and I asked him, I said, do you ever fear the Pistons, or do you ever fear any player? He said, never. I said, do you ever feel like you're ever intimidated by anybody? He says, never. And I said, you're pretty serious about this series. He said, I've never been more serious about a basketball series in my life. He's committed to winning a championship, and I think they're proving that right now.
Okay, the Pistons and the Bulls are on the front burner in terms of basketball news, but there's also news this week about Pat Riley and the Knicks. They officially confirmed that they have made an offer to you. So where does it stand?
Well, Dave Checketts has been totally upfront with all of these, these meetings and these discussions. He did his job in interviewing 4 people a couple of weeks ago. The offer was extended last Tuesday. That was in the print, and I didn't get back till Friday, and we are in discussions right now. The current status of this whole thing is that we are in discussions right now.
Both you and the Knicks have been adamant in saying that, yes, you're their choice, and obviously you are interested, but they are not going to do a blow-by-blow and a point-by-point. We agreed on this, we're still haggling over that. That's what you don't want to get into.
Well, I don't think it's in anybody's best interest. There's a lot of speculation out there, but as I mentioned, Dave has been upfront. We've had, real good, positive discussions, and we will continue to do that, but no, there will not be any specifics divulged.
Now, people have been speculating about a timetable. I keep reading, certainly by Tuesday or Wednesday of this coming week, it'll be yay or nay.
That's by everybody else's clock. There's people out there that want to speed this whole process up, but it's a very important time for the New York Knicks, and I think they're going to take as much time as they need.
And one more thing I'd like to say here, not for Pat to say, but it's for me to say, and that's this. There's been some speculation that somehow we're being coy here and that we'd like to have the announcement. And in my opinion, it's a likelihood something could be worked out, but it's not definite. But that there'd be an announcement of it here on NBC, and it would be saved by both the Knicks and Pat Riley, so it could be announced on NBC. There is no agreement, there is no understanding, there is no expectation that this thing will be held so it can be announced on our air. If it happens in the morning or the middle of the afternoon, you'll read it in the newspaper, you'll see it on your local news, and then I'll ask them about it when we come on that night or the next day. But there isn't a plan to have it announced here. There is a plan to take a commercial break, and when we come back, something you'll want to set your VCRs for. That's right, Vesey and Ferry join us for the inaugural Insiders Draft. That's next. All right, ladies, the Insiders NBA Draft, a moment that promises to match in terms of suspense last week's ultra-thrilling NBA Draft lottery. Now, Bob Ferry, Pat Riley, and Peter Vesey have been kept sequestered in a special room. They're rubbing shoulders with accountants from the firm of Ernst & Young, and now they've emerged to make public their selections. Here are the rules. Ferry goes first. I chime in second, then Vesey, then Riley, until we've gotten through all the lottery teams and we make our selections. But we got to move quickly. There'll be a 24-second clock on each choice. Once a guy's gone, that's it, just like a regular draft. The Charlotte Hornets have the first pick, as you know. Bob Ferry will pretend that you are Alan Bristow. Start the clock.
Well, if I were Alan Bristow, I would first of all be thinking of Billy Owens. They need a small forward, and Johnny Newman's just not, I don't think, consistent enough to do that job. But if also I'm Alan Bristow, I got to think that they would take, and I would take Larry Johnson of University of Las Vegas, a 6'7" power forward who can also play the small forward. So that would also give them the opportunity.
Well, he got the selection out. The explanation, cut off at the buzzer. Larry Johnson of UNLV is gone. Start the clock. I can move through this a good deal more concisely. I'm Willis Reed, GM of the Nets. I want Kenny Anderson, point guard from Georgia Tech. Then I'm going to have two of the most coveted players in the college ranks over the last few years. The reigning Rookie of the Year, Derek Coleman from Syracuse, taken with the first pick last year. Now with the number 2 pick, I've got Kenny Anderson. I'm building a decent team. I've got a serviceable center in Sam Bowie. I can trade Mookie Blaylock now, maybe get some value for him. Kenny Anderson.
And beat the clock.
Getting out of hand. All right. Sacramento Kings.
I'm the Kings. Jerry Reynolds, I spoke to him the other day, and I asked him if he would take anybody but those top 3 guys. We already mentioned them, Owens, Johnson, and Anderson. He said even the Kings can't screw up this draft. He's just going to take the guy that falls down to him, and that's going to be Billy Owens in this case, although I believe that he's going to try and trade for Kenny Anderson with the Nets. So it's going to be Owens, and then he'll make a trade in the small forward position or move Antoine Carr, something like that.
Billy Owens is what I'm getting out of this. Is this the gist of it? Billy Owens of Syracuse.
Now, I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't talked to Bernie Bickerstaff. I haven't talked to Paul Westhead. But Denver in the 4th spot.
Have you talked to Dave Checketts?
Have you talked to David Kahn?
Okay. The Denver Nuggets, a team that runs... See, you're getting into my 24-second shot clock right now. You're just like an official. They need guys who can run and play defense. Now, obviously, Dikembe Mutombo, right? I mean, the big 7-footer from Georgetown is a great defensive player, a little bit raw. That would be a guy that they could draft and probably use him to trade to Golden State or some for a number of picks. Dikembe Mutombo.
Dikembe Mutombo of Georgetown, bound for the Denver Nuggets. Back to Bob Ferry for choice number 5, the Miami Heat.
Well, the Miami Heat really need a power forward. They went out last year and tried to sign John Williams of Cleveland. In fact, they did sign him but didn't get him. So if they got Doug Smith available there, University of Missouri, a 6'10", 6'11", 225-pound power forward, they'd take him in a minute. I beat the clock.
Oh, you beat it by plenty. Doug Smith of the Missouri Tigers going to Miami. Now choice number 6 would belong to the Dallas Mavericks. They've got a number of ways they could go. Now, since you've already taken Doug Smith and Mutombo is also gone, I can't think first about replacing the ever-questionable Roy Tarpley. So that forces me to go to guard. I would have taken Doug Smith if he was still there, but I got to go to guard. I got to take Steve Smith out of Michigan State and then think about trading either Derek Harper or the 32-year-old Rolando Blackman to help myself elsewhere. So I got Steve Smith.
Okay. I got Minnesota. Right? Number 7. They're hoping to draft a power forward, but they're also hoping that one of the Smiths drop down out of the sky into this spot, and they would take either one if they're available. But they will take Brian Williams from Arizona, who, as we speak, is vacationing in the south of France, working on his left bank, right bank, no doubt.
Very nice.
I knew you'd depreciate that.
Depreciate it?
Right. I knew you'd depreciate it.
A little continental humor from Vesey. All right, so Brian Williams of Arizona would go to Minnesota. That would leave the Washington Bullets. It would be appropriate if Bob Ferry made the choice, but he won't. It falls to Pat Riley.
No, and I had a good conversation with Bob, who absolutely knows nothing about the Washington Bullets, okay? He only was there for 17 years. But anyhow, losing Jeff Malone last year, probably need a guard in the backcourt. Liddell Eccles is all they have back there. Darrell Walker's a great point guard. He's not a true point guard that can do the 3 things that a point guard has to do: shoot, penetrate, and hit free throws. I would take Greg Anthony from University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Greg Anthony from the Runnin' Rebels goes in the 8th slot to the Washington Bullets.
Pressured on this clock, my God.
Now, here's something that also has some irony in it. The LA Clippers selection will be made by Bob Ferry.
What's the irony of that?
Didn't the LA Clippers at one time
That's correct.
Danny Ferry?
That's correct. And I think the LA Clippers are going out and try to get an experienced point guard, or they would take a point guard in that spot. But I think they're going to get help at center, and I think they take Luke Longley, a 7-foot center from New Mexico.
All right, Luke Longley, beat it by plenty. Luke Longley from New Mexico. Now we go to my selection, the Orlando Magic. Now, Greg Kite started every game at center for them last year. So you know they need help up front. Mutombo is gone. Longley is gone. Now, if I'm thinking big man, that leaves me with Stanley Roberts, late of LSU, or maybe Rich King of Nebraska. I think Roberts is the better player, so if I'm Orlando, I'm taking Stanley Roberts with that 10th.
You've never even seen Stanley Roberts play.
Oh, I've examined this. I've examined this situation. Okay. Unlike you, I have been on the phone all week. I haven't been as busy.
All right, I've got the Cavaliers. Now, the Cavaliers need a starting off guard ever since Ron Harper left. They've got to put Elo back on the bench, but they also need a backup point guard, maybe even a starting point guard, because Mark Price is going to be back December, January, maybe even after that. But I think they'll go for the off-guard #1 and take Mark Macon.
All right, so the lottery choices are complete. Peter Vesey, acting on behalf of the Cleveland Cavaliers, for which Wayne Embry is eternally grateful, selects Mark Macon of Temple. Now, by way of review, for those of you scoring at home, here is the insider's draft order. Larry Johnson of UNLV to Charlotte, Kenny Anderson to New Jersey, Billy Owens to Sacramento, Dikembe Mutombo to Denver, Doug Smith of Missouri to Miami, Steve Smith of Michigan State to Dallas, Minnesota gets Brian Williams of Arizona, Washington with guard Greg Anthony from Nevada, Las Vegas, Luke Longley, the New Mexico big man, to the Clippers, Orlando takes Stanley Roberts out of LSU, and Cleveland gets Mark Macon. See how close they actually come on June 26th. We're close to the point where we need a commercial break. Stay with us. We're back to wrap things up right after this.
You're looking at the Palace of Auburn Hills, where the Bulls have lost their last 6 playoff games against the Detroit Pistons. But this year, Chicago comes to the Palace with a 2-0 lead over Detroit in the best-of-7 Eastern Conference Finals. If the Pistons are to stop the Bulls, you know the man, Dennis Rodman, will have something to say about it. He'll have a hand in it because that's the way he is. His ability to control the boards and play relentless defense has made him the best defensive player in the league. Here's what it's about.
Defense! 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 You've got to get to work, everybody defensive. That's what I'm looking at. I got to have the defense.
When the call goes out for defense, Detroit's all-purpose stoppers primed for the challenge.
You need somebody to go in and do the dirty work, the defense, rebounding. Dennis fits that role.
I want everybody to see Dennis diving for loose balls and really like giving 110% on defense every night. That motivates other guys to play better defense.
Quick shot in, out, long rebound. Rodman looking to save. He's over the first row.
We've got to have special character and special attitude because it's nothing but hard work on that end.
You know, that's my job. I psych myself and say, hey, I have to do this to help this team. I like playing defense. I like doing things hard. I like to work.
Taking the opposition's big guns throughout the playoffs, the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year savors his role.
Now you get a guy who is not afraid to stick his nose in and play the toughest people night in, night out.
Dennis Rodman's big thing is, I don't need any help. Let me just handle them by myself. And that's the pride he has in defense.
With him out there, he totally disrupts everything. Obviously, his enthusiasm, you know, I don't think there's anybody as pumped as he is.
It don't take too much for me to get really going. All I got to do is just step on the court, and all of a sudden I'm ready to roll.
Though Rodman worms his way into the hearts of the home crowd, some NBA players find Dennis is the menace.
Whoa! Dennis! Dennis! Worm your way out of that!
That's fun for me, and a lot of teams, a lot of players don't want to see me go out there and do those things, but hey, that's business.
Rodman also takes care of business on the boards. A tenacious rebounder, his work ethic and total contribution never goes unnoticed.
When you talk about his defensive abilities and the things that he make happen out on the court, he's one of the best to ever play.
With their quest for a three-peat now in jeopardy, Detroit looks to their peerless defender to eclipse Chicago's advantage.
Look at the guys he's had to play in the playoffs. Dominique, Larry Bird, those his primary assignments. Now Scottie Pippen. If they got through and maybe played the Lakers, he'd be on James Worthy.
Give him 2 playoff shares for that one. He deserves it.
Time for us to step aside. We give the microphones to Marvin Mike from Detroit in a minute.
Playoff time for the Detroit Pistons and Chicago Bulls has been anything but playful. Painful, maybe. For these two teams, physical play is the only way. And for the past 3 years, it has been the Pistons' way, deflating Air Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. This year, things have been different. Oh, it's been physical. But Michael Jordan and his teammates have made it known that Chicago won't be bullied. The first 2 games, the Bulls backed up those words, dismantling the Pistons, leaving them frustrated, bewildered, shocked, and down 2-0. Now, new battle lines are drawn. The Bulls are out to prove they can win it all. But for the Pistons, it is must-win time at the Palace.
Ready to rotate up. You ready to rotate up?
Michael at the foul line. A shot on Eno. Scores! The Bulls win!
This is the NBA on NBC. The 1991 NBA playoffs. Today, Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Chicago Bulls and the Detroit Pistons.
This the setting about 2 hours ago as Michael Jordan and his Bulls, who have stormed through the playoffs, made their way into the Palace of Auburn Hills. For the Pistons, the scene has shifted back home, and Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons say they will be ready to play today, in contrast to what took place in Chicago. A capacity crowd, 21,000 turning out to root the defending champion Pistons back into the series. And the Pistons now must win 4 out of 5, a very difficult task. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert, along with Mike Fratello. And when the Pistons step back and try to figure out where it went wrong over the first 2 games against the Bulls, the stats hit them right in the face. It focuses on the front line. They just have not done the job.
Well, with the exception of Mark Aguirre, who's averaging 20 points per game coming off the bench, the normally reliable Piston front line is struggling. Dennis Rodman, the league's best defensive player and not known to be a scorer, is averaging 6 points per game versus the Bulls. And believe it or not, that's the best amongst the remaining big men. Now, during the regular season, Edwards, Laimbeer, Sally, 32 points per game. But in the playoffs versus Chicago, only 8.5 points per game. Granted, Edwards and Laimbeer are playing hurt. Sally plagued by foul problems. But if the Pistons are to get on track, the big men need to produce.
Chuck Daly was so upset about the play of Sally and Edwards, he benched them the entire second half of the second game. For the Bulls, it's been a different story during the playoffs. No longer do they rely only on Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Suddenly, in the playoffs, the bench has emerged.
We asked Phil Jackson late in the regular season, what's your biggest concern about this basketball team? And he said the inconsistent play of our bench. Phil, relax. After games 1 and 2, that second unit of Armstrong, Livingston, Hodgson, Purdue, anchored by either Jordan or Pippen on the floor at the same time, played outstanding. They either maintained or increased the lead when they came on the floor. The reward, more playing time for those guys.
Although Phil indicated prior to the game today that the bench may not get the kind of playing minutes that they received back home in Chicago. He feels they're not as effective when they are on the road. When we come back, Game 3 between the Bulls and the Pistons in what should be another physical confrontation. Dallas, as we join the public address voice of the Detroit Pistons, here's Ken Calvert.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Palace of Auburn Hills. And now, let's meet some of the world's greatest athletes. First, our guests, the Chicago Bulls. Starting at one of the forwards, wearing number 33 from Central Arkansas, here's Scottie Pippen. At the other forward, number 54 from Clemson, Horace Grant. At center, number 24 from San Francisco, Bill Cartwright. And one of the guards, number 5 from Notre Dame, John Paxson. And at the other guard, number 23 from North Carolina, Michael Jordan. The head coach is Phil Jackson. And now, ladies and gentlemen, introducing your back-to-back world champion Detroit Pistons. Starting at one of the forwards, wearing number 10 from Southeast Oklahoma State, Dennis Rodman. At the other forward, number 53 from Washington, James Buddha Edwards. At center, number 40 from Notre Dame, Bill Laimbeer. And one of the guards, number 4 from McNeese State, here's Joe Dumars. Your captain wears number 11, a guard from Indiana, Isaiah Thomas. The head coach is Chuck Daly, his assistants, the Brendans, Sir and Malone.
A rousing ovation for the hometown Detroit Pistons. And now, as always, to the master of the sidelines. He has emerged as a cult figure in Auburn Hills. Here's Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Marv. As usual, I visited both locker rooms before the game. In the Chicago locker room, a lot of optimism. Michael Jordan told me that we got him on the ropes. All we need to do is deliver the knockout punch. Now, in the other locker room of the defending champion Detroit Pistons, Isaiah Thomas told me that this is not a 2-game series, so we're not down. We've been here before. We realize that we have to start today and win one of the next 4 we need to win to move on to the next round. Now, the great thing about sports, you can say all you want, talk all you want, but it still has to be decided right here on the court. Marv?
Artaban and the officials, Ed T. Rush, Hugh Hollins, and Bernie Fryer. In 44 years of playoffs, only 4 teams have successfully rebounded from a 0-2 deficit in a 7-game series. The last time it was accomplished, the Portland Trailblazers, led by Bill Walton, did it at the expense of the Philadelphia 76ers to win the NBA championship. The Chicago Bulls controlling the opening tip. They have usually attempted to get Cartwright going early. Over Edwards. Bill Laimbeer to the rebound. And here comes Joe Dumars. Edwards up front with Laimbeer and Rodman. Thomas and Dumars in the backcourt. Isaiah Thomas going left off the dribble, trying to feed Laimbeer, and the Bulls able to break it up. Jordan, yes. Michael Jordan still bothered by the tendonitis in his left knee. At times he's been on the give me side. He sat out most of practice yesterday. Looks to be running well here in the early going.
Yeah, and the rest did Jordan did him well. The knees have been bothering him. He needed a couple days off, and he'll come out today smoking from the beginning.
Shot clock down to 2. Here's Thomas. Chicago Bulls have successfully defended against the Detroit Pistons pick and roll, and they have been particularly successful as Pippen fires at home for a 4-0 lead. They have done the job against Bill Laimbeer with the matchup of Scottie Pippen jumping out on Laimbeer.
What happens is the full court pressure uses up time off the 24-second clock as the offensive foul is called right there by Eddie Rush under the basket. But the full court pressure takes time off the 24-second clock. Then as the pick and roll takes place, they switch. And with Pippen guarding Laimbeer, the main screener on the pick and roll, he's quick enough to keep the ball in front of him, play the small guard, and then the small guard just bellies up to Laimbeer.
Rodman called for that foul. Cartwright setting the pick. Edwards jumping out on Pippen, who went to the crossover and then finds the open Cartwright. Well, he took a lot of time to get set, but he's able to hit it. Scotty Hastings mentioning the other day that Bill Cartwright takes about 5 seconds to get the shot off because he looks for the extra television exposure. And Phil Jackson arguing that call against Cartwright.
Keeping the body on people, being physical down inside, not letting the offensive post player establish good position. That's one of the goals of the Bulls.
Well, they're calling them very close here at the start, which was anticipated. Laimbeer, away from the ball, called for the blocking foul.
Hey, these officials read newspapers, listen to the shows like everyone else. They hear the statements made by the coaches and players. They're going to establish control of this game.
Another whistle. It's called on Thomas.
Now, the one thing, as this is a very experienced veteran officiating crew, you don't want to ruin the basketball game. These are two outstanding teams who play aggressive ball.
Are you saying they are on the verge of ruining a game with the happy whistles going here at the start? As Dumars is able to put the Pistons on the board.
And keep in mind now, all 8 points combined by both teams have come from the perimeter. No one taking it inside or to the basket yet off the dribble. And what I was saying is that at some point here early, you got to let the guys play the game.
3 minutes gone by. Grant with the step. Grant with the rebound, and he is fouled. Edwards picking up his first, and Horace Grant will go to the line.
Grant gets the shot off because he had moved into Laimbeer and had plenty of room between the two bodies. As a result, Laimbeer could not put a body on him and check him off. Second shot, offensive rebound.
Grant 71%, free throw shooter. Horace Grant had a strong series against the Philadelphia 76ers. And he's given the Bulls a 7-2 lead. Here's pressure, light pressure by Chicago that has provided problems for the Pistons. Edwards off a double team. Dumars. And it's tipped and missed by Rodman. Crowd looking for a travel. Laimbeer jumping out as Cartwright set the pick. Pippen, yes. And the Bulls lead it 9-2. The Pistons have won 13 of 15 against Chicago here at the Palace. Good switch by Grant. The mismatch is Rodman and Paxson. They double up on that. Isaiah shed the three, goes for the scoop, and it's tipped home by Laimbeer.
Yeah, but I think the most important point there is that after the ball was kicked out from the double team to Isaiah, he ball faked and took it to the basket, dribble penetration, which forces their defense to rotate inside.
Oh, what a fake by Jordan through the double pump, and Michael able to hit on his second field goal. The Bulls 11 and the Pistons 4. Thomas with the spin and the bucket.
And that time Detroit went to the pick and roll using Bill Cartwright as the guy who had to make a decision whether to switch or stay with the basketball, and that's what they need to go to today. More of Cartwright involved defensively.
Rodman took the drive from Pippen. Grant, nice fadeaway move by Horace Grant. It's the Bulls 13 and the Pistons 6. Paxson Trapping Thomas. Squeezing through. Pistons with the numbers. Edwards lost it. Oh, Jordan stripped the dribble. Paxson open. Yes. And the Bulls lead it 15-6.
When you see Chicago go into its trapping defense, one of the things Detroit wants to do is get the two big men, Lambeer and Edwards, down the floor. Then, in the middle, Dennis Rodman will wind up playing the role of the point guard, having to make the decision as they attack.
Fast start by the Chicago Bulls. They jump in front, 15-6.
The Bulls defense, when they double team Isaiah, the man in the middle or the new point guard winds up being Dennis Rodman. He has to make a decision at the end, hit either Lambeer or Edwards. The problem is Edwards putting it on the floor against Jordan. That's a no-no right there. One of the best set of hands in the league.
Chicago has opened up, hitting 7 of its first 10 from the field. Let's go over to Ahmad.
All right, Marv, during that last time out, Coach Chuck Daly very upset about the lack of aggression on his basketball team, the bad shots, too many perimeter shots. They want to try to work it down in low and get tougher. Marv.
That has been the story over the first 2 games. Here's Thomas. Mark Aguirre has come on. And here's Paxson with Dumars back. Good play by Dumars. Broke it up. It will be Chicago ball.
And Detroit needs to pay attention to the fact they're so concerned with getting second shots on the offensive boards that Chicago is not going to hold the ball when they get it. They're trying to push it back at them.
Oh, Pippen rejected by Rodman. Isaiah putting the move on Paxson. Isaiah Thomas, obviously so important to this Piston ball club, showing his quickness early despite the assorted injuries that he is playing with. 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. Cartwright wide open, and the Bulls take a 17-8 lead.
A little pick and roll action by the Bulls, coming right back at the Pistons with the thing that the Pistons do best, two-man basketball.
Chuck Daly wasting little time and inserting Mark Aguirre, who led Detroit with 25 points, and that's a foul on Paxson. 25 points in 34 minutes, game 1 on Sunday, and then game 2, he had a 16-point outburst in 27 minutes. He's had the hot hand off the bench.
Well, the 2 guys off the bench, Vinnie Johnson and Aguirre, have been the keys for the Pistons hanging close the few times that they have been close in the first 2 games.
Aguirre going to work on Grant and called for the foul. Horace Grant picks up his first. Johnson has averaged 25 per game over the first 2, and Mark Aguirre at 20 and a half. Crowd with sarcastic reaction when fouls have been called against Chicago. Dumars and Jordan able to sweep it. Over the first 2 games, the Bulls have shot 42 more free throws than the Pistons. Jordan going glass. He's hit 3 out of 4, and the Bulls open up a 19-8 lead. Back in game 1, the Bulls opened at 20-8 in Chicago.
And Jordan staying basically perimeter so far this afternoon, not taking it to the rim, but pulling up for that medium-range jump shot.
Aguirre with the spin, and back come the Bulls, and the Pistons upset, looking for a foul call on that move by Aguirre. Rodman got a piece of it. Dumars met by Jordan. Edwards.
The Bulls are playing with such confidence. They get back in transition defense, stop the easy layup, and then they just run and double team the basketball, not really concerned with who's open right now for the Pistons as a result of the double team.
Jordan waving Grant away, and then Grant posts up on Aguirre. Grant, yes, so much for Horace Grant not hitting the outside shot after taking off those prescription goggles.
He did not heed the advice of the eye doctor.
Yes, Dr. David Orth, the Bulls ophthalmologist, said that he was kind of concerned when the glasses were taken off. And the foul against Edwards.
Keep an eye. Edwards establishes such deep position. His teammate knows he's in trouble. Watching the left side of the screen as Pippen says, I need to help out here and go for the steal on the entry pass.
And James Edwards, after collecting his second foul, will sit down. John Sally, who has been in foul difficulty over the first 2 games, has come on for the first time. So it is Sally, Aguirre, and Rodman up front. As Chuck Daly goes to the early shuffling, his club is down 21-8, 3:40 remaining. In this first quarter, a battle between Jordan and Dumars, and then Jordan collided with Aguirre. Shot clock is at 2. Pippen, yes! And the Bulls have been unconscious in this first quarter.
Exactly. Chicago's playing almost a perfect first quarter here. I think Chuck Daly just needs to tell the Pistons, look, hang in there. They're doing everything right, making every big shot. We'll work our way back into this game. It's a long game.
Aguirre. And he was looking for the foul. Now a loose ball foul against the Pistons. It's called on Rodman.
One thing you need to keep in mind, the Bulls are so quick, so aggressive, has some great hands. You need to get the ball out of double teams quickly. The longer you hold it, the more chance you're going to have of either being stripped or winding up with a bad shot at the end. A little bit of frustration by Mark Aguirre after the bad shot.
It's the Bulls 23 and the Pistons 8. 3 minutes to go in this first quarter. Jordan, rare miss by the Bulls, but they are able to get a new 24. Paxson from deep. And Vinnie Johnson, who just came on, able to get to it.
Chuck Daly going with the small unit, 3 guards, and along with Mark Aguirre, hoping to have more guys with the ability of scoring and put it on the floor.
Aguirre went short on the downtown attempt. Chuck telling us yesterday that he figures to go quite a bit with Vinnie Johnson as a small forward, staying with the 3-guard alignment. Technical foul has been called. Looked like Aguirre and Grant were getting involved. And it is called on Aguirre. So things are heating up. The Pistons, a very frustrated ball club. They are trailing by the score of 23-8. Here's another look at it as Aguirre and Grant came together. A little shove by Aguirre. And then again as Grant attempted to establish position. And that was clear cut. The tee on Aguirre. We'll be back in a moment. The Chicago Bulls over the last 5 minutes in the midst of a 12-2 run. Mark Aguirre was just been hit with a technical foul. Also a personal foul on the push of Horace Grant. Michael Jordan will shoot the technical. So the Bulls have hit 11 of 18 from the field. Detroit only 4 out of 15 in this first quarter. Detroit has missed its last 5 field goal attempts. And the Bulls now lead it 24-8. Mike, how do you explain what is going on here? Home court advantage for Detroit, must-win situation, but it's been the same story. They have come out passive, and of course the Bulls have been on fire.
From the beginning of the game, the Bulls looked like the cool, calm, collected team, understanding what they had to do to get it done today as Grant misses a little layup inside. On the other hand, Detroit, the frustration setting in. You know, champions, 2-time defending world champions, can't figure out what's going on here. It's a snowball effect. It just keeps getting worse.
Just under 2 minutes to go in this first quarter. Paxson changed his mind on the 3. And a good start for Michael Jordan off the head fake. And Aguirre out of the pack, has Dumars with him, goes the distance. He stepped out. It will be Detroit ball.
When you get those fast break opportunities, 3-on-1s, 2-on-1s, you need to get the ball into the guy's hands who makes the right decision, and then you've got to score at the end. Goes the length of the court, Mark Aguirre, but does not convert at the end. They need points.
And Aguirre 0 for his first 4. Craig Hodges has checked in Phil Jackson using Hodges at the end of quarters for his long-range proficiency. Vinnie Johnson with the driving hook. Bulls 24 and the Pistons 10. Incredibly, with a minute and 15 remaining first quarter, the Pistons finally hit double figures, only 10 points.
Well, averaging only 90 points so far in the first two games.
Oh, what a play by Dumars, and he was fouled by Paxson. That's the type of play that could help the Pistons get back into it.
They believe that their defense has been their constant the entire season. They rely on it. They're going to stay with it. The defense will produce easy scores.
Paxson will sit down. He committed his second. B.J. Armstrong, the second-year player from Iowa, checking in for the first time. Pistons stay with the three-guard setup. Johnson over Grant. Yes. So the microwave has come off the bench again and done it. He's hit 2 of 2.
Don't be alarmed by the 12 points on the board for Detroit, because Chicago has only 24, and they come up with another steal.
Johnson for Aguirre. The Bulls by 10. The Pistons scrapping back off their defensive work. Shot clock at 8. Excellent defensive sequence by Detroit. Shot clock at 2. Pistons back to the offense. 15 seconds in the quarter. Johnson, yes! Chicago will hold for a final shot. 8-0 run by the Pistons. No call as the first quarter comes to a close. Consecutive points by the Pistons. After one, it's Chicago 24 and Detroit 16. The Chicago Bulls led by 16. They had a 24-8 advantage here at the Palace of Auburn Hills, but the Pistons have come roaring back.
The Pistons are smaller, but they're quicker. Sally, much quicker than Edwards or Lambier, anticipates, comes around, Cartwright, picks up the steal. Then Pippen, normally used to dribbling against the forward, has Dumars guarding him with the great quick hands, comes up with the deflection, which then leads to another foul by Chicago.
8 consecutive points by the Pistons. Bulls missed their last 5 in a row. In the first quarter, Chicago 11 for 21, Detroit 8 of 20. It is now the Bulls 24 and the Pistons 16. Marv Albert with Mike Fratello and Ahmad Rashad. 21,000 at the Palace for Game 3 of the best of 7. Sally, and off the back tap, here comes Armstrong. Armstrong and Jordan at the guards. Will Perdue has come on for the first time. Perdue up front with Grant. Oh, Johnson with the hustle, couldn't get to it. Hodges does.
Keep in mind, in the first 2 games, whenever the second unit came on the floor, only Jordan or Pippen, one or the other, remained out there from the first unit. Right now, you have Jordan and Grant. A little sign right there that Jackson may be concerned.
And Phil Jackson is going with a 3-guard alignment. Look out, Hodges able to hit after Thomas went flying over him on the fake. And the Bulls lead it by 10. Detroit staying with the 3-guard. Vinnie Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, along with John Sally and Mark Aguirre. Aguirre. Well, he was uncertain, and then he decided to let it fly.
Well, he wanted to try and put the ball on the floor and take it to the basket, but if the defensive man's going to back off that far, you must knock some jumpers out.
8-point lead for the Bulls. It will be Chicago ball with 13 on the 24. Well, the Detroit Pistons the last 3 years have eliminated the Chicago Chicago Bulls from the playoffs, but in recent times, the Bulls have turned it around. They won 5 of the last 7 playoff games against the Pistons. 3-on-2. Here's Johnson. Yes. Make it 4 for 4 for Vinnie Johnson. And the Pistons now within 6.
Vinnie Johnson knows that he's having an outstanding series against the Bulls. He's playing so hard. His shot's back right now, playing with a ton of confidence.
Armstrong lost it off his foot.
Reminiscent of the matchup, Isaiah versus D. Brown in the Boston game. Isaiah versus Armstrong, taking advantage of the inexperienced player.
Phil Jackson calling for the timeout. A sparked-up Piston ball club. Welcome back to the Palace of Auburn Hills. With 2 minutes gone by in the second quarter, the Bulls now with a 6-point lead on the Pistons.
Isaiah Thomas applying the pressure to Armstrong, forces the turnover as the ball is dribbled off his foot. And then the 2 best buddies, 2 guys who have been together through a lot of big games. Although Bill Laimbeer may not be doing it on the floor, he's helping out everywhere he can, encouraging the captain to keep up the pressure.
Bill Laimbeer bothered by tendonitis of the right knee. He has had a very low-key series against the Chicago Bulls. Has not done it, only 2 of 9 from the field, and he's committed 10 fouls. Sally with a facial plus the foul. Will Perdue called for the foul.
A little pick and roll between Vinnie Johnson and Joe Dumars. The Bulls weren't quite ready for it, didn't know how to handle it, resulting in a potential 3-point play. Dumars coming off of VJ, looking for his teammate once he draws the next defender.
Don Sally, a 73% free throw shooter. Detroit turning it around. They've hit 7 of their last 8 from the field. Once down by 16, they are now trailing by only 3. Both clubs going small with the 3 guards. Hodges, yes. And Craig Hodges has done a terrific job in the playoffs coming off the bench. You'll recall he hit the critical 3 in Game 1 last Sunday. This after an erratic regular season. Now Hodges defending Johnson. Open shot for McGuire. It's the Bulls 28. And the Pistons 26. Jordan. Loose ball foul called on the Pistons. And it will stay right there. Here's Scottie Pippen returning. Armstrong sitting down. Last foul called on Aguirre, his second. Oh, what a spin by Jordan. Rebound Sally. Aguirre.
All you need is a couple of missed shots by Chicago. You got a small team on the floor for Detroit. They can get out, fill lanes, and then you got scorers on the floor for the Pistons.
Correct score, Bulls 28, Pistons 27. There was a question a moment ago as to whether a shot was a 2 or a 3. Hodges recaptures. Here's Grant, and the Bulls take a 30-27 lead.
Fortunate bounce that time for Chicago. The deflection by Sally on the pass, attempted pass inside. The Bulls come up with the basketball.
Aguirre battling his way. It won't count. The whistle before the shot attempt. Horace Grant picking up his second. The continuation waved off. Johnson hit on the reach-in. Well, Vinnie Johnson will go to the line. Hodges called for his first.
To me, at the offensive end of the floor right now, the Pistons should be using Will Perdue, his man, as the screener in their two-man game, the pick-and-roll stuff. If Perdue tries to switch on to an Isaiah Thomas, it's history. Thomas goes by him. If he tries to double-team Thomas, he'll go around him because he's too slow. That's the key guy right now. He's setting the screens. That happens to be John Sally.
Here's Cliff Levingston providing a rest for Horace Grant. Leads with 7 points. Cliff Levingston played particularly well in Game 1 on Sunday, and he had been a forgotten man most of the season. So the Bulls 30 and the Pistons 28. Livingston up front with Perdue and Pippen. They double up on Jordan. Jordan and Armstrong at the guards. Sally jumping out. Shot clock is at 4. Livingston and tipped home by Perdue. Will Perdue squeezing inside, and he's given the Bulls a 4-point lead.
That's one of the problems when you're aggressive defensively and double-team Michael Jordan as he plays pick and roll. You then start scrambling and rotating on the inside, and it leaves people open to get on the offensive glass for Chicago.
Thomas working very hard, but couldn't find the shot. Aguirre does. And Johnson getting to it on the back tap. Johnson with the spin and the bucket.
They may have the 3 best offensive rebounding guards together on the same team, and Vinnie Johnson, Joe Dumars, and Isaiah Thomas. When you talk about 3 in the same backcourt, these guys go get missed shots and then have the ability to score on the follow-up.
Michael Jordan called for the foul. The basket counts, and when we come back following the timeout, it will be Johnson to the line.
Miller Genuine Draft presents #1 draft choices.
Well, today's Miller #1 draft pick is the microwave. Vinnie Johnson, originally a #1 selection of the Seattle Supersonics. He was the 7th pick out of Baylor University back in 1979. Vinnie was traded to Detroit in '81 for Greg Kelser, and since then he's become the Pistons' all-time leader in games played. A reminder, at the end of today's telecast, we'll select the Miller #1 genuine draft player of the game.
Vinnie Johnson came out of college as a point guard, handling the ball, bringing it down backcourt, was shifted over to the scoring guard where he responded, averaging 25 points in the series so far. Today, 11 points for VJ, and now he's a small forward in this game.
He has completed the 3-point play, and the Pistons are down by 1. The Bulls have led all the way. They led by as many as 16 as they burst in front, 24-8. 6:45 to go in this first half. The Bulls up 2 games to nothing in this best of 7. Here's Drew. He's been off in the second quarter. Perdue lost it. Dumars with the steal, and it's tied up. Livingston and Dumars will jump it up.
When you're a small team and you know you're giving up a lot of size, you got to find a way to come up with the basketball. You got to scrap, you got to dive on the floor, you got to knock it free. Exactly what the Pistons are doing right now. Champions with a lot of pride hanging in there.
I mentioned the difficulties of Jordan. He has missed his last 5 shots. He's now 3 for 9 for 7 points.
And interesting how many times has he pulled up for jumpers versus taking it to the front of the rim. Perhaps those knees are still bothering him.
Perdue was hit. Sally played him well, not allowing the shot. And then Perdue was able to get it off, and he will go to the line. Will Perdue, in his 3rd year out of Vanderbilt, he has played very well during the playoffs, starting with the series against the New York Knicks, able to convert a career-high 16 points against the Knicks. Earlier this season, Will, like several of his teammates coming off the bench, complaining about lack of playing time, and then he played his way back into the rotation. Livingston with the rebound, and then tipped home. Both Pippen and Perdue contesting for it. And it's Pippen who receives credit. He has 8, and the Bulls lead the Pistons 34-31.
Well, it's interesting how it goes hand in hand. The players on the bench wanted more playing time. Phil Jackson said his concern was the inconsistency in their play.
Isaiah Thomas with his 3rd field goal. He has 6 points, and it's the Bulls 34, the Pistons 33. Pippen with the step. Perdue lost it. Aguirre with the good hustle, but he was out of bounds.
And Purdue's doing an excellent job of going to the front of the rim, waiting for the shots that are missing, and getting second shot opportunities. He's got his hands on it. He stationed himself under the backboard, coming up with a lot of loose balls.
Now Perdue will sit down. Bill Cartwright returns. Horace Grant, John Paxson are back, replacing Craig Hodges and Cliff Livingston. Bill Cartwright with the bandage over the right eye received a 20-stitch cut on the forehead after taking a hard fall in practice on Thursday. And the foul called on Sally. He says it was all ball. Sally and Jordan now having some words. Foul committed by Sally. Cartwright got his feet tangled with Will Perdue and hit the floor, but he's all right. There he is. And we get a little closer on the stitching. Aguirre with the steal. Reaching foul with Pippen and Jordan combining on Thomas.
And Pippen reaching in, taking the foul right at the midcourt line to stop the fast break transition score. He felt that Detroit had numbers. He wasn't going to give them the easy layups. Going to make someone go to the free throw line and make two foul shots.
Chicago over the foul limit. Thomas to the line for the first time, and the Pistons can take the lead for the first time this afternoon. The game is tied at 34. Isaiah Thomas, bothered by a series of injuries, has not been himself. 11 points and then 10. So they're 34 apiece.
Well, if you were Chuck Daly a few minutes back and you looked up now and saw 34 apiece, you'd have to feel a little bit better about this basketball game.
Cartwright, yes, nice move by Cartwright. Bulls 36, and the Pistons 34.
The concern for Chuck Daly now is how long he leaves this small unit out on the floor. You still have the entire second half to go, and I'm sure he needs him a lot of minutes in the second half.
Good setup from Thomas. Sally will be sent to the line. John Sally had the mismatch with Scottie Pippen. Pippen called for his second.
On the dribble penetration, one of the things that the Pistons were missing in the first 2 games, you draw defensive guys, you then have the ability to pass off to open teammates. First 2 games, the guards for Detroit were pulling up, shooting jumpers. Now they're putting it on the floor, taking it to the basket.
Pistons down by 1. John Sally in his 5th season out of Georgia Tech. He will be a restricted free agent following this season. A look from above here at the Palace. Pistons and Bulls tied at 36 with just under 5 minutes remaining. First half, pressure by Johnson against Pippen.
Pippen now acting as the point forward for the Bulls, trying to direct the offense, bringing it up the floor.
Cartwright and Johnson able to get to it. Game tied at 36. Shot clock down to 4. Sally with the fake. The Pistons with the lead for the first time today.
Something that John Sally did on a regular basis against the Celtics, put the ball on the floor against slower people.
Bill Cartwright has tied the game at 38.
When Purdue was on the floor, Sally was able to leave, double team. The threat was not the same. You must keep in mind now, Cartwright is more of a scorer than Purdue.
Thomas. Still alive. Dumars able to get to it. Isaiah for Dumars. And Grant with the rebound. He had the opening and took advantage. The Bulls 40, the Pistons 38, and a timeout being called by the Pistons. It is a 20 taken by Chuck Daly. Well, the NBA playoffs continuing tomorrow with Clyde Drexler and his Portland Trailblazers going up against the Magic Man, Magic Johnson, who had 19 assists last night in the victory over Portland for the 2-1 lead. And we'll be back on hand on Monday starting at 3 o'clock Eastern time for game number 4 between the Bulls and the Pistons. NBA Showtime with Bob and Pat at 3. And now they have changed to a full timeout. We'll be back in a moment.
And they've been able to deliver on all of them, Bob, but they started this game as though they didn't know it was their season, and they've gotten back into it real well.
Also at halftime, a look ahead to tomorrow's Trailblazers-Lakers game and a report from Bud Collins in anticipation of the French Open. See you in a few minutes.
All right, Bob. Well, going into today's game, the Detroit Pistons very unhappy about the calls. The Bulls shooting 42 more free throws than the Pistons, but today you look at team fouls and they are 10-10. We're down to 3:15 remaining in this first half. The Bulls lead by the score of 40-38. Isaiah Thomas with the rebound. Pistons staying with the 3 guards, Thomas, Dumars, and Johnson. They've gone most of the way in this first half. Off the turnover, back comes Paxson.
You know, there's a dual responsibility on pick and roll situations. The guy must set a good screen on the man playing the basketball, but the guy with the basketball, the guard in that case, has to run him off the screen.
And Scottie Pippen has given the Bulls a 42-38 lead. So Pippen has hit 5 out of 7. He has 10. 2.5 to go in this first half. And that is a traveling violation. Isaiah with the fake right and went left, and the outside official, Ed Rush, made the call.
The Pistons have worked so hard to get back in this basketball game. They close it right there to within 2, and now back-to-back turnovers take place.
Sally doing a good job in fronting. Cartwright was able to spin around him. And Sally arguing he felt he was pushed off. He had the advantage with the initial move, and then Cartwright was able to beat him off the head fake.
Sally felt that Cartwright used the left arm, the free arm, to hook him and make his baseline move.
The Bulls by 6.
It almost looks right now as if the Pistons may run out a little bit of gas here at the end of the first half.
Aguirre, he's 5 for 8. He has 10, and after the slow start, Mark Aguirre picking it up. The Bulls by 4. Minute and a half to go. First half, and Cartwright was clobbered.
Sally really has to lean up against Cartwright because of the difference in weight. Bill Cartwright feels the pressure, and then makes a quick baseline move to turn the corner.
And here's Sally again in foul difficulty and has to sit down. He picked up his 3rd. Cartwright will go to the free throw line.
We asked Chuck Daly yesterday, why are the Bulls shooting such a high percentage at the end of the first 2 games, over 49%, against a team which during the course of the regular season normally holds their opponents to 45%. And he said, our best defenders have been on the bench in foul trouble. Sally, Rodman, Lambier inside, the guys who stopped their scorers.
In previous seasons, Bill Cartwright was excellent at the foul line. He's lost the touch from the line this year. He's only 50% during the playoffs, under 70% for the season. Hit 1 of 2, and the Bulls lead it by 5. Marv Albert, Mike Fratello, Ahmad Rashad from the Palace of Auburn Hills. Game 3 of the best of 7. Desperation time for the defending champion Detroit Pistons, down 2 games to none. And again the foul call, a reach-in on Thomas. Getting back to the disparity of the calls, at least according to the Detroit Pistons, you went to the computer and came up with this statistic for game 1 and 2.
Well, what we're talking about here is the time that you spend in the bonus, because then all the little fouls, the hand slaps, the loose ball fouls send you to the foul line for 2. You can see that the Bulls over 32, almost 33 minutes in bonus time. The Pistons just over 15 minutes. Quite a difference.
Well, Gerald Henderson will come on, replacing Isaiah Thomas. Cliff Livingston back. Horace Grant will sit down. 1 point during the season, Henderson was the starting point guard when Isaiah was bothered by the wrist injury, but has not played much in the playoffs. So the Bulls have a 7-point lead. They led by as many as 16, jumping in front by the count of 24-8. Detroit with a good run. They led briefly, and now they're trailing by 7 with 1 minute left in the first half. Shot clock at 3. Dumars got it away, and he drew the foul. The outside official, Bernie Fryer, with the call on Livingston. That is his first.
Keep an eye on the Bulls defense. This is what's made it so hard. Watch how many defensive switches. There's one underneath the basket. Here comes another one off the pick and roll situation developing here. Ball's kicked out. Here comes the next pick and roll. Another switch takes place. The shot clock runs down. That's why the Pistons have not gotten a lot of open shots. The Bulls have the ability to switch and still play the different people in the matchups.
That was only the 3rd point for Joe Dumars, who has also been playing hurt, bothered by a knee. Chuck Daly would like to reduce his minutes, but he has not been able to.
Tough to reduce minutes when you're down 0-2.
6-point Chicago lead. 35 seconds to go in the half. Pippen. Yes. The Bulls 49 and the Pistons 41. Scottie Pippen with 14. He's the high man for Chicago. Michael Jordan did not have a good first half. 3 for 10 from the field for 7 points. Johnson again. He is 6 for 7 for 14 points. The Bulls 49, the Pistons 43. 22nd timeout taken by Phil Jackson. And as you see, 14 and 5/10 seconds remaining in the first half.
Stop right here, baby. Get a hole here. Get a hole here. Let's go. Get a bucket.
If you're concerned right now with Dennis Rodman having 2 personal fouls, perhaps if you're Chuck Daly, you take him out of the game. But keep in mind, since it was Chicago's 22nd timeout, Chuck can only substitute for Rodman if Phil Jackson puts one of his players in the game.
When people think of the Chicago Bulls, they think of the offensive onslaught led by Michael Jordan, but statistically, the Bulls are now the top defensive team in the playoffs in 10 years. They have held opponents to 90 points per game.
It's an incredible statistic because during the regular season, they were #1 in the NBA in point differential, meaning difference between what they gave up defensively and what they scored, just over 9 points a game. They're much higher than that in the playoffs.
Final seconds of the half. Jordan, yes. And the Bulls with a strong finish, lead by 8. Here's Henderson, and he fires it. So the Chicago Bulls, at one point leading by 16, have an 8-point lead at the half. The Bulls 51 and the Pistons 43. Bob and Pat will be back from our New York studio. We'll have the second half. Stay with us.
So they ride a seesaw. Chicago led by 16. Detroit actually came back, led by 2. Bulls finished the half on a 15-5 run, up by 8 at 51-43. Some patterns continue. Vinnie Johnson suddenly gets hot in the playoffs. He gets 14 points in the first half, but you got Lambeer with 2 and Edwards with nothing, while Cartwright gets 11 for the Bulls. So now in consecutive games, Game 2 and the first half here of Game 3, in which Jordan has really not been his usual self in terms of scoring points, the Bulls find other answers, and the Pistons don't get anything from the center spot offensively.
Well, I mean, all of those things are beginning to equal out, I think, to a certain extent. I mean, you're not going to see Cartwright and Will Perdue, you know, on a regular basis have the kind of games that they had down in Chicago. But what's scary about this, Bob, is that Chicago has dominated the rebounding in the first 2 games. They've dominated getting the ball to the free throw line, and the Pistons have taken care of that today somewhat, and they're still down by 8. So it's going to be an interesting second half to see if they can come back. Okay, let's take a look ahead at Game 4 of the Lakers-Trailblazers series set for tomorrow afternoon at the Forum. Dick Enberg and Steve Jones are at the Forum right now getting ready to call that game. What's the latest out there, fellas?
Well, Pat, it's a beautiful day for tennis here in Southern California, and perhaps some of the players are off to the courts. Both teams worked out early. The Lakers very relaxed. Portland seemed a little tense. It's the Lakers 2-1, and the Blazers trying to break serve tomorrow.
That's true. Is this breakfast at Inglewood for me? This is as close as I'm going to get with
I'll
you.
I'll give you the strawberries and everything.
Well, you know, in this ball game, we do have 2 different types of tennis players. If we use that analogy, the Los Angeles Lakers have been baseliners, and they've had a lot of patience. They've used a shot clock. They've played very smart, tenacious basketball, and they've kept the Trailblazers in the games which they've been able to control pinned to the baseline. Portland's got to serve and volley. They got to be explosive. They got to get to the net. They got to go for the cheap points. You know what you're always saying? Get to the net, you win the point. Well, that's what Portland's got to do.
And I know you're not afraid of me in my game, but fear is a factor. In fact, Danny Ainge said that he is a bit afraid tomorrow. He thinks tomorrow's winner will win this series. And for James Worthy, he too acknowledged fear.
Well, fear is always incentive. I always like to be a little afraid of, or a little nervous going into a game. Usually conjures up some good energy. It's pressure on both teams. They're down 1 game. They feel it's a must game for them. We feel it's a must game for us simply because, you know, this is our last game at home before we go back to Portland. So.
And the biggest fear for the 2 coaches tomorrow?
Well, one will learn serve and volley, and the other one will become a baseliner. So you pick your pick. I think that Portland wants to be explosive, and the Lakers still want to be slow and methodical.
I'm going to take him out to the court and show him that California cut shot. Let's go back to New York and Bob and Pat.
So good to see those fellows getting along so famously, isn't it? What about this fear factor?
Well, it's not fear. It's a little more worry in depth. It's not. They don't like to use the word fear. Worry in depth is what it's about for the Blazers. Yeah.
A worried Worthy. And since the Snapper and Mr. Enberg were talking tennis, appropriately enough, after this timeout, we'll head over to Paris and check the early matchups in the French Open, which start on Monday. Bud Collins will join us by satellite when we continue after this. To me that no one on the way to the Louvre is actually discussing the shootout. Let's take a look at the standings, which find me in front 10-8, but I must dispute this because this percentage is way off for me, 10 for 16. That includes the 3-pointers, the trick shots, the eyes closed. I mean, everyone knows I'm an 80 to 85% free throw shooter.
You're just like players making excuses, right?
Nonetheless, reviewing the stakes, for those of you just joining us in the playoffs, the loser must, on the finals in prime time, wear his hair in the fashion of the winner, which means if I maintain my lead, we may see Pat Riley yet again looking something like this. Well, lovely from the early, look at that, Pat, from the early 70s. That's extremely attractive. Yes.
Yeah,
all right.
You've come a long way.
Pat, you will shoot first.
Yeah, why not?
Pat Riley, ladies and gentlemen. Riley connects and moves temporarily to within 1. This is where toughness of spirit comes into play. Protect this lead.
I like it.
Oh, my. I didn't get the roll.
Eastern Conference Finals.
It was dead center. It just scooped out. The lead is down to 1. The level of suspense nearly unbearable. Back to Marv and Mike for the second half.
As we head to the second half, the Chicago Bulls lead the Detroit Pistons 51-43. Welcome back to the Palace. Marv Albert with Mike Fratello and Ahmad Rashad. And Mike, you look at the first half, Michael Jordan only 9 points. The Detroit Pistons have gone to the foul line for the first time more frequently than the Chicago Bulls, yet the Bulls with the lead. How do you explain this?
The key areas that jump out at you: 1, turnovers by the Pistons, 10 by the team in the first half, 4 by Isaiah Thomas. And then the Bulls on the offensive glass, 7 altogether, 3 by Will Perdue. As a result, producing more shot attempts for the Chicago Bulls, and they're shooting nearly 55% from the floor.
All right, let's go to Ahmad Rashad.
All right, Marv. I'm here with Coach Chuck Daly. Chuck, your assessment of the first half, you're down by 8 points.
Well, we've had a hard time containing their starting unit. They've all scored. Jordan's 4 for 11, but we're not handling the other people, paying so much attention to him. Secondly, the rebounding again. We're getting out-rebounded, although we're playing 3 guards, and that's a problem.
How about the turnovers? Does that concern you?
Well, we were fine. We were right in the game, and 3 straight turnovers took us to this particular 8-point lead.
All right, good luck to you in the second half,
Thank
Coach.
you.
All right, Marv, back to you.
And in the first half, the Bulls at 55%. They opened up on fire, then cooled off and finished strong, a 15-5 run to end the half. And Vinnie Johnson and Mark Aguirre once again have done it off the bench. Johnson 6 for 7 for his 14. Aguirre finished at 5 for 10 for 10 points. We'll be back with the third quarter in a moment. 50th consecutive sellout at the Palace of Auburn Hills, Michigan. Scottie Pippen leading the Chicago Bulls with 14. Bill Cartwright with 11. Michael Jordan only 4 for 11 for his 9 points. And Detroit led by Vinnie Johnson, 14, and Mark Aguirre with 10. No one else in double figures. Pressure by the Bulls off this inbounds.
They're going to stay after him the entire game. They're not going to back that pressure off. They stay after him, try to tire him out, try and force some turnovers, all in their favor so far in this series.
James Edwards is back, sat out a good portion of the second quarter, as did Dennis Rodman. And Mark Aguirre starting the second half. Thomas and Dumars in the backcourt. Here's Edwards. Yes. And the Bulls lead it by 6. James Edwards upset by his second half benching in game 2. And he said hopefully the benching will make him more aggressive. Says he has to start getting Bill Cartwright in early foul trouble. That was not the case again here today. Pippen keeping it alive. Yes, and it counts. Scottie Pippen is now 7 for 10 from the field. He has 16 points.
Scottie Pippen has such great athleticism that Dumars goes for the swipe on the shot, misses. His momentum carries him right past him. As a result, no one there to block out Pippen on the second shot attempt.
And Pippen has had his way today in the matchup against Dennis Rodman, although it has not been Rodman on him throughout, but Rodman just picked up his 3rd foul. Bulls by 9. Opening minute, third quarter. Edwards getting position, then threw the right elbow into the chest of Horace Grant as he faced the double team. Grant all right, and the offensive foul on Edwards. That is his 3rd.
The quickness and strength of the double team is what makes Chicago's defense so good. As soon as he catches the ball, Edwards, and turns to look outside, by turning in with that elbow, he catches Grant. Offensive foul called.
Bill Laimbeer returning. So Edwards will sit down. Laimbeer played only 5 minutes in the first half. Edwards only 8 minutes.
8 minutes with 0 rebounds for James Edwards.
Here's Grant. And Grant is hitting the outside shot. The Bulls lead by 11. They led by as many as 16 back in the opening minutes. Dumars has been very quiet once again. Cartwright on the rebound. Pippen backing Dumars, who switched off. Here's Grant. Rebounded by Laimbeer. Grant hit the floor. Dumars for the reverse. Bulls 56. And the Pistons 47.
even during their best run in the first half, it doesn't seem like the Bulls got fazed by what the Pistons are trying to do out here. As soon as the starters came back on the floor, they regained control of the game.
Oh, what a move by Pippen again. Scottie Pippen has 19, and the Bulls surge to an 11-point advantage. Maguire, and he will go to the foul line. Foul committed by Jordan.
Scottie Pippen with the ability to take the basketball from the perimeter where he directs their half-court offense so much of the time and still be able to get it to the front of the rim and convert right in between that big guard, small forward type of player. Exactly what he does, give him great flexibility.
The Chicago Bulls feel that they have grown up. They feel the difference at this level of the playoffs is all about a mental state of mind. They contend in the past the Pistons' mind games would get to them. And, of course, they came out in Game 1 and made a statement. Michael Jordan came out in most unusual fashion, looking angry, all fired up. And that may have been very significant.
You could see it in their faces today. They came out very purposeful. They understood what the job was going to be, what the task was, and they've gone about doing it. And right now, Jordan knocking out the jump shot puts them up 60-49.
The last time the Bulls beat the Pistons in a playoff series was back in 1974. The Bulls of Jerry Sloan and Bob Love, Norm Van Leer, Chet Walker, Tom Boerwinkle. That's an illegal defense call for the first time. The Bulls won it in 7. That Piston team featured Dave Bing and Bob Lanier and Stu Lance, John Mengel. Here's Vinnie Johnson returning. So Chuck Daly back to the 3-guard setup. Maguire rejected on the reverse.
With the lack of perimeter game that Detroit has shown so far, the entire defense collapses on anybody that tries to post up. You're talking about 4 red jerseys surrounding Mark Maguire. Makes it tough to get a clear shot at the basket.
3 minutes gone by in the third. Lambier gets deep, and his troubles continue.
In fairness to Bill Lambier, he's playing with a very, very tough knee injury, one that may require injury at the end of the season.
The basket counts, and the foul. Vinnie Johnson called for the foul. Bill Lambier shooting only 2 for 9 over the first 2 games. During the regular season, he averaged 15 a game against Chicago. He's averaged only 3 points and 4 rebounds in this series. And Scottie Pippen is just destroying the Pistons. The Bulls by 14. And that is a blocking foul called on Pippen. 3 for Pippen. Pippen, 22 points on 9 out of 12. Dennis Rodman, who is sitting down, has had a very long day, sitting down with the 3 personal fouls.
Dennis Rodman first comes out. He's assigned to guard a guy like a Scottie Pippen. Then if Jordan starts to get off, Chuck Daly has to switch him over to Michael Jordan. Then who's left to guard Scottie Pippen? A real problem for the Pistons in the matchups.
Crowd becoming impatient. A 3-point attempt. Pippen able to wrestle it free. Nice ball movement. Paxson from downtown. And again, it's Pippen on the rebound. Beautiful pass, but Grant had it knocked away. Last touched by Detroit. Well, we discussed this at the start. Edwards, Lambier, and Sally have been invisible in this series, and that has continued here today. Jordan will go to the line.
It's tough to leave players on the floor when the matchups are so much in their favor, as has happened so far for Detroit. You look for the main guys to produce, but if they're being taken out of their game for whatever the reasons are, whether it be injuries, whether it's just bad matchups, then you need to make a change, which Chuck Daly did. He brought the smaller unit in, which got him back in the basketball game in the first half.
Dumars called for the foul to put Jordan at the free throw line. 12 points now for Michael Jordan. Game 4 of this series will take place here on Monday afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock Eastern Time with NBA Showtime. I'll be joined by Phoenix Suns coach Cotton Fitzsimmons, who will be pinch hitting for Mike. I know you'll be attending daughter Christy's high school graduation. Congratulations to Christy. Mike, if you need some additional time off, Cotton said, incidentally, he's available for the rest of this series and the championship round.
Are you throwing me a little hint there?
Little joke there. Excellent defensive sequence by the Bulls, but the contact made. Isaiah Thomas taking that shot. Jordan called for his 3rd foul, and Isaiah will go to the line. $7:50 remaining in the 3rd quarter. The Detroit Pistons have put themselves in a situation where they must win 4 out of the next 5. They have taken 13 of 15 against Chicago here at the Palace, but they are down by 14.
Do they have enough energy left in this team after the big comeback in the first half to make the same kind of run here in the second half? That's what remains to be seen.
Chant of defense from the crowd. Cartwright operating now against Aguirre. Yes, Bill Cartwright has come up big once again. He's 6 of 8. He has 13.
Where the mismatch takes place, it seems like the Bulls find it every time. Cartwright shooting over Aguirre, too easy.
And the foul on Paxson. That is 3 on Paxson. 3 apiece on Paxson, Jordan, and Pippen. The Detroit foul rundown. 3 on Rodman, Edwards, and Sally. Once again, Thomas to the line. He's now 4 out of 5 from the foul line. Isaiah bothered by wrist, hamstring, and an ankle injury. The wrist, the most severe, with Isaiah sidelined by the injury, was an erratic season for the Pistons. At one point, they lost 5 straight games for the first time in 5 years. They even lost 3 straight here at the Palace at one point. Still finished the regular season at 50 and 32, then knocked off Atlanta in the first round of the playoffs. Had a tough series, but beat Boston in 6. Traveling violation called on Pippen, and the Pistons will get it back.
You know, that Atlanta Game 5 was really the first time that they were in a situation where they felt that urgency that, we could be in trouble here finally after such a great run.
Jordan got a piece of that last shot attempt, and Jordan does the rest, but an offensive foul is called. Pippen was trying to clear out for Jordan, and so in making the move, he erased the Showtime stuff by Michael.
And Pippen said, wait a minute, I was trying to avoid him, but he grabbed the front of my jersey and kept pulling me into him. That's why it looked like I ran him over. The fast break starts, Pippen will lead it, and as he drops it off, watch Vinny hustle in front, and who's holding who? I'd say the official made a pretty good call.
6:47 remaining, 3rd quarter, timeout has been taken. Welcome back to the Palace of Auburn Hills. The crowd attempting to urge the Pistons on with 6:47 remaining in the 3rd, and the Bulls up by 14 points. It is Detroit ball as we resume. Bill Laimbeer is back. Pistons remaining with the small lineup: Thomas, Johnson, Dumars, along with Laimbeer and Aguirre. Well, Dumars has played the entire game, only 2 for 6, 5 points. Laimbeer on the follow. It's the Bulls now by 12. Paxson, Jordan and Hodges now go in the three-guard alignment, along with Cartwright and Grant. Grant able to shake loose.
Excellent movement by the half-court offense from Chicago. Just as the defensive player for Detroit, Aguirre, fronted the post, the opposite post man flashed high, taking away all the weak side help. No one to rotate on the layup.
Bulls by 14. Aguirre converts the open shot. He has 14. The Bulls 69 and the Pistons 57. Battle between Cartwright and Lambier. Hodges, played by Johnson. Now Cartwright. And the foul call. Foul on Lambier.
Big bodies with the contact down low, fighting for inside position there. Lambier trying to keep his body between Cartwright and the basket, but Bill getting good low post position makes it so difficult.
And he did not dispute that call. Michael Jordan was hacked by Joe Dumars. Dumars picking up his second. Over the years, Joe Dumars has played Michael Jordan about as good as you would hope for. And as he has told us on many an occasion, you try to force Michael to the jump shot. That's about the best you can do. You try to keep the ball away from him. Jordan's going to get his points.
In fairness to Joe Dumars, I don't know of anyone who comes in and stops a Michael Jordan head up. You think about the year he's gone through with Isaiah going out, the wrist surgery, all those games that Dumars had to move into the dual role of being the main scorer from the backcourt, yet running the show, and then defensively stopping the best backcourt guy for the other team. It takes its toll when the minutes build up.
And he has played hurt through a good portion of the year. Most of the season, the major ailment, a hyperextended big toe of the left foot. Also had some knee problems. Bulls lead by 14. Aguirre with the step, lost it. It will be Detroit ball.
And once again, it's Michael Jordan flying from behind one of the offensive players after he's beaten his man initially. As Aguirre takes it, watch Jordan come from behind and get the piece. So many layups this year he saved for the Chicago team.
Loose ball foul. Called on Paxson. Number 4 committed by John Paxson.
Michael winds up being like the free safety. He roves all over the floor looking to help out wherever he can, and he really enjoys blocking shots.
It's very nice, the free safety.
Yes.
And here's Dumars, who is 1 for 2 from the line. Now B.J. Armstrong replacing John Paxson. Paxson, 2 out of 5, 4 points, sitting down after picking up his 4th foul. The Detroit Pistons gunning for a 3rd straight NBA championship, hoping to become the 3rd team to do it, joining the Lakers and the Celtics, the old Minneapolis Lakers of the 50s, the Celtics of the 60s, but they are trailing here in Game 3, 71-59. It will be Chicago ball, unless there is an enormous turnaround. They could be facing a 3-0 deficit to the Chicago Bulls. The club eliminated from the playoffs by the Pistons the last 3 seasons. Good hands by Johnson. It's a 4-on-3. Isaiah dished it off, but he was hit from behind. Foul committed by Cartwright, his second. And it puts Detroit at the line. Chicago over the limit.
Sometimes it's just happenstance. Things have to fall into your hands to make good things take place.
Pistons have done well at the free throw line. The foul shooting had been shaky recently. That is when they've made it to the line. Game against Boston, only 17 of 36. So Isaiah now 7 for 8. And the Bulls lead by 10.
Check out the different looks that Chicago gives you. Right now, they've got Michael Jordan doing the majority of the ball handling because Pippen's out of the game and Paxson's out of the game. It takes the pressure off of Armstrong or Hodges from being the main handler. They can change up at any time during the game. That's what causes you problems defensively.
Here's Jordan. Oh, what a shot. Forced into the fadeaway with the shot clock down to 2. And some more conversation from Michael Jordan.
Yeah, to the front row people who were saying, no way. He said, no, that's it.
Bulls by 12. Here's Vinnie Johnson.
And Michael Jordan that time turning to Grant and saying, that's a trap. Make sure you trap him next time so he doesn't get to the basket.
The Bulls by 10. 3.5 to go in the third. Pistons showing some signs. Doing it again from the defensive end.
Yeah, but as soon as the intensity picks up, the ball goes to Michael Jordan to make him be the guy to make it happen.
And he was fouled. Once again, that shot clock running down. Dumars called for his third. John Sally checking back in, replacing Bill Laimbeer.
A few moments ago, he backs the smaller player, Dumars, in, and then on the way up, even though Dumars gets a piece of the ball, he now turns to the stands and says, no, he can't stop me, he's too small.
The Pistons and the Bulls have been perfect at the foul line in the third quarter. Detroit 10 of 10 and Chicago 6 for 6. See Michael averaging better than 31 per game during the playoffs. 18 for the day. Game 1 in Chicago, won by the Bulls 94-83 last Sunday. Game 2 Tuesday night, Chicago did it 105-97. 4 here at the Palace Memorial Day. That's this Monday afternoon. And we'll be on the air starting at 3 o'clock Eastern Time with Showtime. Game 5, if necessary, back in Chicago on Wednesday night. The Bulls lead by 12. The double team meeting Aguirre, lost the dribble. Hodges. Whipping by Johnson, and he will go to the free throw line. The push called on Johnson.
As has happened a number of times in this series to Mark Aguirre, when the double team takes place, you need to get rid of the basketball a little bit sooner. If you try to dribble it into the traffic of the Chicago Bulls, you're asking for a problem, you're asking for a turnover. They're very, very good at producing steals and turnovers, as attested to by the season statistics.
Greg Hodges, a superb free throw shooter. He was 26 for 27 from the line during the regular season for 96%.
Now keep in mind, this Bulls team was the 4th best in the NBA this year at coming up with steals, over 800 for this team during the season.
Greg Hodges in his 9th season out of Long Beach State. And he has done a solid job off the bench in the playoffs. Bulls by 14, just under 3 minutes to go in the third. Armstrong with the steal. So Aguirre's coughed it up the last 2 times down court.
And again, versus the pressure, the 3-man for Detroit, right now Aguirre winds up being the man making the pass off at the end. Actually, Aguirre is a 4-man, 3-man swing for them in this position.
Thomas had a notion to fire it down. Aguirre was ahead of the field. Here is Isaiah. Stopped by Cartwright. Then the recovery, yes. And it counts. Spectacular individual effort by Isaiah Thomas.
Detroit has such great competitors. They're trying to find a way to win this basketball game. They just can't get over the hump.
Foul called on Hodges. Timeout taken. 2:28 remaining in the third.
Everybody, I'm Ahmad Rashad. Welcome back to the Palace here in Auburn Hills. Now, last week, Michael Jordan was presented with the Edge MVP Award, his second such award, a very emotional moment and a very proud moment for Michael Jordan. And I imagine a very proud moment for his father, Mr. James Jordan.
How you doing?
All right. A very good moment for your son. If we receiving that award.
Beg your pardon?
A very nice moment for your son receiving that award. It must have been a proud moment for you.
It was. It was something that he'd worked hard for all the year, and, you know, just to see him get it, I thought it was real gratifying.
Now, as we watch the Chicago Bulls team, it looks like they've grown up physically. They have not stepped backwards against this challenge by the Detroit Pistons in terms of their aggression.
Well, you know, from where I sit, I think the difference in the team this year and last year is Chicago came here last year and every other year hoping that they belong. This year they come here to prove that they belong.
All right, well, we will watch them continue to prove that. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
All right, back to you, Marv.
All right, Ahmad, the Pistons with a couple of good opportunities, and Isaiah Thomas and Will Perdue have some words. They will jump it up. Isaiah missing after he had the shot attempt following the missed free throw, and then Rodman had the follow-up not able to hit. So it ends up in a held ball between Perdue and Thomas. The Bulls with a 77-65 lead over the Pistons with 2:16 left in the third. And Isaiah skying for the tip. Here's Sally, fouled by Jordan. That's 4 on Jordan.
John Sally realizing he has such a mismatch with Jordan winding up behind him after the jump ball. Steps in the middle of the lane. Good look by Isaiah Thomas. Let's check out the vertical leap by Isaiah on this jump ball.
Whoa.
Very similar to your vertical leap
Yes.
when you played. You're playing there.
Yes, Isaiah at maybe 6'1" against the 7-footer Will Perdue. A rare missed free throw by Detroit. John Sally now 3 out of 4 from the line.
With Rodman struggling at the offensive end, just having a tough game, it might be a good time for Chuck Daly to come back with James Edwards versus Will Perdue. Perhaps go at James down low, see if they can get him off, unless, of course, Edwards is hurting once again.
Sally with the steal, and he slipped and stepped out, and he is claiming that Hodges tripped him up, but does not get the call.
And that time after the free throw, Detroit went to its version of the full court pressure, trying to produce some turnovers. Sally on the rotation, after the deflection, is out of bounds first.
Saw the smile on the face of John Sally. Try to pull one on Bernie Fryer, who did not go for it. Just under 2 minutes remaining in the third. Armstrong played very tightly by Thomas. Isaiah tried to draw the foul. Good play again by Sally. And let's see, it will be Detroit ball.
You can really see the intensity here in the Pistons defense. They understand that with the time slowly slipping away and with the 11-point deficit and struggling to score, they must produce turnovers. Hands, deflections, make things happen with the defense.
Sally. Yes, and it counts. Will Perdue called for the foul, and the Pistons have stepped it up here in the final stages of the third quarter.
Sometimes as a coach, when you know you're struggling, you tell your team, look, let's just hang around close enough to give ourselves a chance. John Sally, with this free throw, may just have made the basket that gives him the best chance of turning it around here in the second half.
Perdue sitting down, and again, Phil Jackson going to the rookie from North Carolina, Scott Williams, who has moved in front of Stacey King in the rotation. And Williams able to deflect it out to Jordan. Full 77. And the Pistons, 68, minute and a half left in the third. Here is Armstrong. Sally getting to it. Johnson, the tip by Thomas. The Bulls by 7.
Isaiah Thomas, the captain, the leader of this team, doing it all. Winning jump balls against Will Purdue, getting to the basket for offensive rebounds, the will to win.
And the Pistons saw that will in the rapper against the Boston Celtics last week. Foul called on Sally. That is his fourth. We're down to 1 minute remaining in the third quarter. And the Pistons have moved within 7. Scott Williams will go to the foul line.
After Vinny misses the shot, we mentioned earlier that the Pistons have 3 guards that can all get on the offensive boards. Vinny Johnson, Joe Dumars, and Isaiah Thomas.
Scott Williams in limited action over the course of the regular season was 20 for 28 from the line. He was signed as a free agent. He's the only rookie on the Chicago Bulls roster. The hand for John Sally providing a spark here in the third quarter. Sally sitting down after picking up his fourth. Cliff Livingston has returned. So Livingston back on the floor for the Bulls. Scott Williams in the playoffs shooting only 2 for 7 from the line. It's the Bulls 78 and the Pistons 70. McGuire setting the pick. Thomas with the step. Thomas hits and the foul.
And Chuck Daly saying that that was an extra hard foul, that he should shoot that one. Chuck Daly wanting one of those flagrant fouls that were called, one of the 3, okay, called against the Pistons last game.
And he is getting the call. It is called a flagrant against Williams.
Let's take a look at it again. As Isaiah goes to the basket, it's the follow-through after the initial foul and trying to put Thomas down on the floor. That's called the flagrant part of it.
So the free throw plus possession. Detroit, as you mentioned, hit with 3 flagrant fouls in game 2. And they were very upset about that. Dumars, Sally, and Thomas all called for the flagrant foul. Detroit has come within 5. 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. McGuire for 3. And the loose ball foul is called. Livingston took a pop. Foul called on Dumars. That is his 4th. And the Bulls back to the line.
It's a different kind of war out there today in the paint area. You got a lot of little bodies in there instead of the normal 6'10", 6'11", 7-footers banging each other around. You got all these little guys scrapping and laying wood on each other, and they're trying to come up with rebounds.
Detroit in the midst of a 10-1 run against Scott Williams to the line. He's the man the Pistons want on the foul line. He's now 2 of 3, though, from the free throw line. 6'10", 230-pound rookie from the University of North Carolina. And he's done the job. He's hit 3 of 4 from the line. The Bulls 80 and the Pistons 73 with a half-minute left in the third.
The high pick and roll, Vinny Johnson's favorite play, the 15 play for the Pistons.
And a pushing foul called. Isaiah Thomas tearing it up here in the third. He has 13 of his 20 points in the third quarter. Hodges called for the foul. That will send Johnson to the line. Vinny is 2 out of 3 from the free throw line. Isaiah Thomas sat out games 2 and 4 against the Boston Celtics because of a sprained right foot. And then in dramatic fashion, helped the Pistons to that overtime victory a week ago. That was last Friday night.
If the Pistons make this free throw by Vinny Johnson, check out and see if they go to their 2-2-1 press to try and force a turnover here down the stretch.
6-point Chicago lead.
You see the trap trying to take place against Jordan. Bulls will probably pull it out now and go for the last shot of this quarter.
No, Hodges decides to shoot. Down to 5 seconds. Down to 3, Armstrong. He got it off glass. 1 2/10 seconds remaining. In the third quarter, the Bulls lead it by 8.
Somehow they were going to get the last shot of the quarter.
Isaiah takes one for Dumars. Try to pitch it back, he did, but Rodman not able to release it in time. And after 3, led by Isaiah Thomas, the Pistons made a run. They are now down by 8. It's the Bulls 82 and the Pistons 74. The Bulls looking to make it a 3-0 lead in the best of 7. The Pistons hoping to cut it to 2-1. We'll be back after these words and a message from your local station. Welcome back to the Palace of Auburn Hills. Capacity crowd, better than 21,000 on their feet. Looking to get the Pistons going. The Bulls by 8, 82-74. As we head to the fourth quarter, Marv Albert, Mike Fratello, and Ahmad Rashad. Only 4 NBA teams have come back from 2-0 deficits in the playoffs. Happened only once in the Eastern Conference Final. That was back in 1971 when the Baltimore Bullets came back to knock off the New York Knicks. The last time Detroit started a playoff series 0-2, the 87 Eastern Conference Final against Boston, lost the first 2 games in Boston, lost the series to the Celtics in 7. Nice look as Jordan was able to find Grant. Grant has 13, and the Bulls lead it by 10.
That's one of those examples Chuck Daly tried to point out to us at halftime. We're paying so much attention to Michael Jordan. He catch the other 4 defensive players watching Jordan to see if they should double team. Someone flashes to an opening.
Here's a 3 attempted by Dumars. Sally kept it alive. Sally on the tip. Johnson. Shot waved off. Foul before the shot attempt. A reach-in call on Paxson. That's 5 on Paxson. And he'll be replaced by Armstrong. It is a non-shooting foul. Resetting the Pistons. Dumars, Thomas, and Johnson. Chuck Daly going with the 3 guards along with Sally and Rodman. Edwards and Lambier continue to sit. Again, the 3 attempted. And kicked out by, let's see, the call was made by Hugh Hollins, and apparently he changed his mind. He was indicating Chicago ball, and he just told Chuck Daly and assistant Brendan Sir to relax because he changed the call. He said, no, my mistake, it is Detroit ball. Last touch by the Bulls.
I think that's all coaches ask for when an official makes a mistake. Admit you've made a mistake. Hey, I missed that call. What are you going to do? We're all human. Chuck Daly says that we've got the best officials in the world doing NBA games, but they still do make mistakes occasionally. Take a look as Chicago isolates Michael Jordan and they bring the other players to the other side of the floor. Keep an eye down low at the heads turned for the Pistons to watch the basketball. If you turn your head to watch Michael Jordan, there it is. Somebody's going to sneak inside, and Michael Jordan will find them.
It is amazing how you have become so compassionate regarding the officials since you have left the coaching lines. I just marvel at that. Illegal defense, technical foul call. It is the 2nd illegal defense, so it puts Dumars at the line. You are sending Pat out over the airwaves. I mean, this has gotten to the point, Mike, where I don't know how you can look at yourself in the mirror.
I don't feel that I'm any more compassionate now than I was when I was coaching. I just look at it a little bit differently now than in the past.
The Bulls 84 and the Pistons 75. Brent switching off on Johnson. And he got the step. Strong move to the hoop for Vinnie Johnson. He's hit 8 of 9 for 19 points.
On that pick and roll, that's what the guards need to do for Detroit. Keep the dribble alive after the switch and then take them off the dribble to the basket.
Michael Jordan getting terrific position. 21 for Jordan. The Bulls 86 and the Pistons 77 with 1:40 gone by in the fourth quarter. Thomas on the penetration, stopped with the reverse. 8 on the 24. Isaiah firing. Cartwright able to get to it. Cartwright up front with Pippen and Grant, Jordan, and Armstrong at the guard. Sally jumping out on Jordan. Jordan beating Sally and then giving it up. Jordan hitting the deck. Cartwright. And Dumars, met by Armstrong, decided to slow it down. Johnson. Oh, good play by Pippen. He stripped him. Johnson able to recover and hit.
You talk about staying after it. Vinnie Johnson knows that he has the ability to string points together. He's got to get it going.
The Bulls 86, the Pistons 79, and a 20-second timeout taken by Phil Jackson.
When Detroit goes to the pick and roll, the thing Chicago has done is switch. The man setting the screen, the defensive player there will switch on to Vinny, and now Vinny must go by the bigger player. In this particular case, Grant, rather than just pull up and take jump shots. Exactly what they worked on in practice. But when the deflection takes place, Vinny stays after it. He's determined to get a shot off and knock it down.
They have now changed to a full timeout. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Palace, where the Chicago Bulls lead the Detroit Pistons by the score 86-79. 9:15 to go in the fourth quarter. Vinnie Johnson 9 for 11 for his 21 points. Isaiah Thomas has not shot well. He's done it at the foul line, but once again he has provided a spark, particularly with his 13 points in the third quarter. He has 20 for the game.
And of Vinnie Johnson's 21 points, 16 of those have come from within the blue paint area of the lane.
Here is Jordan. Well, Dumars has been forcing him to the jump shot, but now Michael Jordan is hitting the perimeter shot. He has 23, and the Bulls have an 88-79 lead. Vinnie Johnson. Rare miss for Vinnie. Rodman able to get to it.
But it was Vinnie that keeps it alive. Once again, offensive rebounds from the guards have enabled the Pistons to hang in there.
Johnson met by the switch, met by Grant. Oh, what a shot. And he's also called for the charge. Vinnie Johnson committing his third.
The Bulls recognize so well what's happening that Grant came over, switched, got caught right off him, and then Pippen rotates across and takes the charge. Offensive foul by Vinnie Johnson. Their defense is so quick in covering the floor, it presents so many problems for you at the offensive end.
Wet spot being taken care of by one of the ball boys. Chicago Bulls getting set to put it back into play. The Bulls won 61-21 during the regular season. Best record in the history of the team. The Bulls, the 9th team of the history of the league to win 60 games in the season. They whipped by the Knicks in 3, knocked off the 76ers in 5. And trying to make it a 3-0 lead on the defending champion, Detroit Pistons. John Sally with his 5th foul. NBA Commissioner David Stern taking in all the action. Nice tie, David, one I know that you selected.
But it was outstanding myself.
And Jordan does it again. He has 25. The Bulls 90. And the Pistons 79. Off the crossover, Thomas in on the reach-in. Hodges and Grant converging, and Hodges, who has received the playing time here today, called for the foul.
The Pistons are a team that were built with pieces that fit in the right place. Low post scoring from Edwards and Aguirre. A big man who can step out and give him perimeter game, and Bill Laimbeer, along with the guards who have the outstanding ability to score off pick and rolls and in transition. When you take a lot of those pieces away, it may work on a short-term basis playing a small team, but it takes its toll of it. It just knocks you out of sync is what it does.
Once again, James Edwards sitting for long periods. Same for Bill Laimbeer. Game 2, Chuck Daly benched both Sally and Edwards in in the second half.
Notice who's doing the handling now. Pippen bringing it up, taking some of the pressure, fatigue factor. As far as Michael Jordan, let Pippen do the handling.
And Grant able to get inside. It's been another solid performance by Horace Grant. He has 15. Sally, yes, and it counts. So Sally cuts it to 10, and he'll go to the line. Hodges called for number 5.
Something that John Sally has added in the playoffs this year, the ability to take it to the basket from the high post area and convert at that end. Just a new little wrinkle to his offensive game.
Mark Aguirre is back. Joe Dumars sitting down. He has gone most of the way. And Craig Hodges departs for B.J. Armstrong. There's Dumars struggling once again, 2 for 8. From the field, 4 out of 5 from the line for 8 points. But you know he is playing hurt. Pistons have not used the injuries as a cop-out, but they've been hard hit right throughout. And Sally completes the 3-point play. The Bulls 92 and the Pistons 83. And again the crowd trying to rev up the home club. Dwyer switching off on Pippen. Look out, Pippen sent flying, and the hand offered by Rodman. And you look at the expression of Rodman as Pippen would have no part of the help. He's upset.
The difference right there is that when Detroit switched that time, Aguirre is not able to keep Pippen in front of him. Pippen turns the corner. Aguirre trying to make sure that he doesn't get to the basket to shoot the ball.
Scottie Pippen was very upset with the way he was shoved to the floor by Mark Aguirre. And as we mentioned on Showtime, according to Scottie, Mark Aguirre challenged Pippen to a fight in the Chicago Stadium parking lot following Game 2. Aguirre denies it. Basket waved off, foul called again against the Pistons. And again, it is Aguirre. That is 4 on Aguirre. It is a non-shooting foul. Bulls and Pistons each with 3 team fouls. And once again, a whistle. This away from the ball. It's on Rodman. That is his 4th.
The officials making sure down the stretch here that nothing happens on the floor that would make this an ugly game in any respect. Trying to keep it clean right now, particularly down low in that battle zone area. Forearm shivers. No, we're not going to allow that.
Ed T. Rush, Hugh Hollins, Bernie Fryer working the game today. They came out blowing the whistle, looking to take control, and they did. Here's Pippen for Grant. Yes, and it counts. A beautiful setup for Horace Grant. And he'll go to the line as the foul was called on Sally. So that is number 6 on John Sally.
They have such tremendous confidence in one another, the Bulls. Once they make it happen off the dribble, they look for their open teammates in the seams, in those open spots, and then they're willing to give up the basketball because now they have the belief that they can all contribute.
So John Sally, who has played well, has fouled out. He departs with 13 points. Well, as mentioned earlier, according to Scottie Pippen, Mark Aguirre challenged Pippen to a fight in the Chicago Stadium parking lot following Game 2. We asked John Sally for his evaluation of a Pippen-Aguirre fistic matchup.
I wouldn't fight Mark Aguirre if I had 3 hands and had a neck like Mike Tyson. Maybe if I had a neck like Mike Tyson, I would, and a belly like Foreman. He wouldn't want to fight Mark Aguirre.
Pippen is good. Could hit him with the jab, don't you think, though?
No. Just say you hit Mark's head, and his head is like about this big. He ain't gonna do nothing. What's that? You just jab it back a couple of times. But if Mark lays one of them big mittens on him, or even gets close to grabbing him or just hitting him, he's out there.
Mike, I know you've been gunning for the pay-per-view rights to John Sally, though, a moment ago fouling out after a strong effort. The Bulls now lead the Pistons 94-83 with 6:40 remaining in the fourth quarter. Johnson went short, but again, able to recapture. Here's Lambeer just checked back in. The Bulls by 9. And for the Pistons, as we come up on 6 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, this may well be their season on the line. Here's Pippen. Eddie Johnson took a shot in the nose.
As Pippen delivered the jump hook, the left arm clearing out Vinny.
Isaiah Thomas getting a break. It deflected off Michael Jordan.
Thomas using the screen, keeping the dribble alive as Cartwright tries to step out. He needs to go by him off the dribble.
Just under 6 remaining, fourth quarter. And Grant able to rebound. Isaiah now 6 for 18. The Bulls at one point led by as many as 16. They opened up with a 24-8 lead. They led at one point 65-49. They led 67-51. Thomas off the steal. And the foul on Cartwright.
Isaiah looking down the floor, trying to find one of his open teammates for an easy score. Forgot for a second that Cartwright was behind him. As the turnover right there takes place, Cartwright tries to sneak up from behind, forced the turnover, but he gets a piece of the arm instead.
Team foul number 4 called on Chicago. Pistons already over the limit. 9-point Bulls lead. Cartwright jumping out. Thomas beat him off the dribble. Able to feed Johnson, and he was blocked by Jordan. Johnson on the recovery. The Bulls by 7.
And that time they used Cartwright's man as the screen of Bill Lambeer. As a result, Thomas was able to turn the corner.
Cartwright open off the pick and roll. Armstrong. And he drew the foul. Thomas called for his third.
What the Bulls do is an excellent job of locating where the open spots are once Detroit goes to its traps and rotations on defense. They shoot the offside players into the openings, and then they have the ability to find the people and pass the basketball to them. Easier said than done in this league.
P.J. Armstrong, 87% free throw shooter. He has had some outstanding shooting games this season. Number 1 draft pick out of Iowa a year ago. The Bulls 96 and the Pistons 87. Again, Chicago to the trap. And they have forced Aguirre to handle it.
And that's what they want to do, get the ball out of Thomas's hands.
Isaiah blocked by Jordan. Isaiah able to hang in. The Bulls by 7. Lots of time remaining. 4:35 to go.
And you got to believe that one of the reasons Bill Lambeer is in there is to step back maybe and knock out one of those three-pointers.
And Lambeer on the rebound. Lambeer open. Yes. It is down to a 5-point Chicago lead. Just under 4 minutes remaining in the fourth. Grant feeling around for Aguirre. Armstrong for 3. B.J. Armstrong connecting on a three-pointer during the regular season. Attempted only 30, but hit 15. The Bulls by 8. A huge shot by Armstrong. 3.5 to go in the fourth. Aguirre from downtown. Yes! So Mark Aguirre matches B.J. Armstrong. It is back to a 5-point Chicago lead.
And the ball goes right back into Michael Jordan's hands, the guy that can make it happen by scoring or finding open teammates.
Oh, what a recovery by Jordan. The ball was jarred loose, and he was able to get it back. Dumars went behind the bag. Dumars, what a spectacular shot by Joe Dumars. Again, a 5-point lead for the Bulls.
And Chicago will stay with that pick and roll until Detroit finds a way of stopping it. Cartwright stepping out, setting the screen for Jordan.
Chant of defense from the crowd. Shot clock down to 4. Cartwright, Johnson got a piece of it, and Pippen rebound. Scottie Pippen getting it out, and the Bulls want to talk it over with 2 minutes and 31 seconds remaining in the fourth. A sensational finish. The Bulls 101 and the Pistons 96. We'll be back in a moment. The NBA playoffs have come back from an 0-2 deficit to go on to a victory. The last team to do it, the Portland Trailblazers, knocking off the Philadelphia 76ers to win the final back in '77. But when you're down 3-0 in the NBA, it's happened 44 times, no one has come back. Baseball, World Series situation 20 times, nobody came back. And the National Hockey League, 2 teams have done it. The last to do it, the New York Islanders, coming behind to knock off the Pittsburgh Penguins. Well, Detroit is down 2-0, and Michael Jordan has extended the Chicago Bull lead to 103-96. Jordan has 29, as the Bulls hope to come out of today's encounter with a 3-0 lead.
And Michael Jordan also hurt his knee once again after that last shot. Came down the wrong way, struggling, running back down the floor.
Aguirre, the tip by Langbeer, so the Bulls lead 103-98, 2 minutes remaining. In the fourth quarter, the timeout situation, Chicago has 3, Detroit with 3 and a 20. Pippen lost the dribble. Aguirre for Johnson, Jordan back, Dumars, Jordan stays with him, and Jordan comes up with it.
Think about that. 2-on-1 by himself. Michael Jordan with the bad knee gets back there to break it up.
Here's Pippen. The crowd was looking for a travel on Jordan. Pippen, yes, big bucket for Scottie Pippen, and the Bulls lead by 7. Well, the Pistons showing the respect for the defensive presence of Michael Jordan as Dumars and Johnson went at it. And Dumars drew the foul. Grant called for the personal.
This looks like a sure layup initially. It's going to cut it to a 3-point game. Johnson dishes it off, but now Jordan stops the ball, comes back. Right there is where the Pistons felt the foul took place against Dumars. Stop the ball, recover on the next pass. You're by yourself 1-on-3, and yet you wind up coming up with the ball, and as a result, getting a score at the other end for your team.
And Michael Jordan is hobbling, trying to walk it off. Dumars 4 out of 5 from the line. We're down to 1 minute, 18 seconds remaining in the fourth.
Jordan, we said, has been struggling now running back recently. After this shot, as he comes down right there, you see him on the way back, struggling with that leg.
Cartwright getting to the rebound. It's a 6-point Bulls lead. Paxson back on the floor. Paxson and Jordan in the backcourt. Pippen with Cartwright and Grant up front. Aguirre called for his 5th. Both clubs are over the limit.
Obviously, you'd like the ball to be in the hands of one of the poorer free throw shooters for the Bulls, but with the time running out like that, to let 16 seconds run off the shot clock and then foul, you need to get the clock stopped and get scoring opportunities as soon as possible.
Scottie Pippen, 4 out of 4 from the line, a 70% free throw shooter. There you see the foul rundown. John Sally has fouled out. Aguirre picking up his 5th. Chicago now 21 for 27 from the foul line. So the Bulls With a 107-99 lead, a minute 1 remaining in the fourth quarter, and the Pistons have taken a timeout. Well, today's Miller Genuine Draft Player of the Game, Michael Jordan. And on behalf of Michael, NBC and Miller Genuine Draft will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. Tremendous all-around performance by Jordan. 29 points, 20 in the second half, 11 for 19 overall, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 blocks, and 2 steals. And a reach-in foul is called with 56 seconds remaining. Cartwright picks it up. Scottie Pippen had another terrific game. 26 points, 10 for 15 from the floor, 10 rebounds for Pippen. The Bulls getting the balance. Grant with 17, Cartwright 13. B.J. Armstrong off the bench, 7 points. Hodges with 6. While Detroit, led by Vinnie Johnson, who had 23 for Isaiah. Portland and L.A. tomorrow afternoon, starting 3 o'clock Eastern Time with Showtime. Bob Costas, Pat Riley on hand. And the Bulls and the Pistons meet in Game 4 on Monday. That's Memorial Day. Also 3 o'clock starting time with Showtime. 107-101. Bulls by 6. Pressure by Detroit. Tree Rollins has come on for the Pistons for the first time.
And you got to get to the ball exactly like Rodman did. Foul quickly to stop that clock before too much time goes off it.
And Paxson took a shot in the chin. That's 5 on Rodman. And a technical foul call on Rodman. Michael Jordan will shoot the tee.
Rodman comes over to foul Paxson right away. It's the choke lock that produces it.
Well, Jordan had hit his previous 7. And now Paxson will go to the line for the first time. The executive producer of NBC Sports is Terry O'Neill. The producer of the NBA on NBC, Tommy Roy. Today's telecast directed by Andy Rosenberg. And our statistician, as always, Mr. Stats, Elliot Cow. 49 and 2/10 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter. The Bulls by 7. They led by as many as 16. They opened up with that burst, jumping in front 24-8. Led by 16 on several occasions. Detroit making a couple of runs, but falling short. And now down by 8 with a timeout taken by Chuck Daly. 49 and 2/10 seconds left. We'll be back at the Palace in a moment. And 2/10 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter as the Bulls are on their way to going up 3-0 in the series. Pistons down to 1 full timeout and 1:20. The Chicago Bulls seeking to avenge the 3 straight eliminations from the playoffs by the Detroit Pistons. And here's Thomas. Yes, and it counts.
And you'll take the three-point play any way you can get it. During the regular seasons, the Pistons, not an outstanding three-point shooting team, just over 29%. They raised it up in the playoffs, but Thomas this time, realizing you're down 8, you got to get points one way or another, takes it to the hole. Potential opportunity for a three-point play. If you look back and you try and pick out one big defensive play, think about Michael Jordan hustling back to stop that layup and what could have been a three-point game at that time.
Foul called on Grant. Isaiah gunning for his 28th point. 45 and 5/10 seconds remaining. Oh, he almost threw an air ball. So critical free throws missed by Thomas. And a moment ago, Dumar's foul given by Johnson. Instead of a 5-point differential, it's a 6-point lead. And Jordan to the line with 39 seconds left. Michael Jordan, 7 for 8. from the free throw line. The Detroit Pistons came into this season seeking a third straight NBA title, looking to become the third team to do it. The Lakers and the Celtics accomplishing that feat. Minneapolis Lakers of the 50s, Boston Celtics in the 60s. Celtics winning 8 straight titles from 59 through 66. And the Pistons now facing a 3-0 deficit with Game 4 here on Monday afternoon. Bulls by 8. Vinnie Johnson looking for the 3 and then goes for the 2. Bulls 111 and the Pistons 105.
Go for the steal, you foul right away, you hope to produce a turnover for a score.
But the Bulls call for the timeout with 32 and 3/10 seconds remaining. Bill Jackson taking a 20. Well, tonight, our primetime lineup here on NBC opens up with Amen, followed by American Dreamer. Then it's the Golden Girls and Empty Nest, followed by the provocative new series Sisters. That's tonight right here on NBC. The Chicago Bulls with a 6-point lead. They will have the full 24 when they pick it up following this timeout.
And a nice move by Phil Jackson and the Bulls after the score by Detroit. They ran out of bounds quickly, tried to get it in right away to see if they could find one of their better players free. As soon as it goes in, they sprint to openings. Right there, the forearm shiver by Rodman as Jordan's trying to free himself. Michael Jordan not real happy about it as they went off the floor, talking to the official, Ed Rush, about watching away from the basketball as they're roughing him up.
Chicago with 2 timeouts remaining. Detroit with 1 and a 20. Assistant coaches Jim Clemens and Johnny Buck. Dennis Rodman 0 for 3 from the field, only 7 rebounds, while Scottie Pippen with 26 points, along with 10 rebounds.
Well, Chuck Daly had mentioned earlier to us in the season that in the past, the Bulls had 1 superstar and the other guys out there doing their job. This year, they have 2 superstars on the floor, Jordan and Scottie Pippen. He raised his game to the next level.
In last year's conference finals, the Bulls won all 3 games. In Chicago, they lost all 4 here in Detroit. This season, Chicago with the deciding 7th game, but they don't have plans to go that far. Big breakthrough here this afternoon. A 6-point lead, 32 and 3/10 seconds remaining, and Dumars called for the foul.
The foul was called as the ball was in the air. Jordan will go to the line, 1+1, with a 6-point difference in the game.
Jordan is 9 for 10 from the line. Points for Michael Jordan.
Perhaps the turning point, a 5-point game at this time, a 2-on-1 fast break. Jordan, the only guy back, stops the ball, challenges the second shot attempt, and then comes up with the rebound. Eventually, the Bulls go down and score. Instead of a 3-point game, it turns out to be a 7-point lead for the Bulls.
And Jordan comes up with the steal. Yes, off that move by the combination of Johnson and Dumars. They showed the respect for Jordan's defensive skills, perhaps too much respect. I'm sure if they had that to do all over again, they would have gone hard to the basket.
Yeah, look for the contact, try to get to the free throw line.
Pippen attempting the 3, down to 9 seconds remaining. The Bulls by 8. So the Chicago Bulls go 3-0 in the best of 7 on the defending world champions. Thomas allowed inside, 113-107. 29 for Thomas to lead the Pistons, and that is it. The Chicago Bulls over the Detroit Pistons 113-107 with Game 4 here on Monday afternoon. Memorial Day will be on hand starting 3 o'clock Eastern Time. For Mike Fratello and Ahmad Rashad, I'm Marv Albert. This has been a presentation of the NBA on NBC.